And welcome to Theater Talk Boston. Today we're joined with Scott Edmiston, director of the Thanksgiving play here at the Lyric Stage, playing until November 10th. Hi Scott, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Kobi, pleasure to be here.
So this is a relatively new play and it premiered last year down at Playwrights Horizons in New York. Can you tell us what it's about to begin with?
Sure, and I will just mention that the premiere was directed by a BU alum named Moritz von Stupenagel, who studied directing with me when I was on the faculty at BU. The Thanksgiving play is the story of four people who are preparing to rehearsing to create a Thanksgiving play for their school district's annual Thanksgiving celebration. I think it's called the Turkey Trot, specifically for elementary school kids. So we have the high school drama teacher, her boyfriend who is a street performer, historical advisor who is the third grade history teacher to advise on the history content, and a professional guest actress that they have brought in from Los Angeles. And so they're struggling to figure out what is the story they should tell, because we are aware now that a lot of what we have believed about Thanksgiving is actually mythology, right? And one of the things I came to understand, Kobi, was that Thanksgiving as a national holiday was really created by Abraham Lincoln after the Civil War as a way to help unite the country. But most of our understanding about Pilgrims and Native Americans is entirely fictional and not related to historical accuracy. So they're trying to figure out what is the story that they should tell and how do they lift up the indigenous person's point of view in a way that this national myth was really created by white people and white men. And then how can they tell it in a way that isn't offensive to various people? So, for example, the high school drama teacher, Logan, is a vegan, so she objects to the killing of turkeys. Or how do we depict pilgrims because we can't have public prayer in the schools, right? In addition to how do we honor the indigenous point of view? So they're struggling with that. And Larissa FastHorse, the author, is really kind of satirizing liberal good intentions. She's helping us raise awareness of our misconceptions about national myths and national holidays, and the lack of the perspective of indigenous people in our national holidays. And also she's also poking fun at theater people.
For sure, I definitely noticed there were many theater jokes that I was in on, which was great. Did you see the show in New York, or how did you come in contact with this script?
I didn't get to see it in New York, although I heard about it because I follow Marissa's career. And then I saw that it had been added to a course at Northeastern University where I used to teach on race, power, and performance. So that intrigued me. I thought, what does that play have to say about race, power, and performance? It was actually proposed to me by Lyric Stage Company, and I read it, and I felt like it really tapped into something contemporary, really this moment in time, in a way that was exciting to me. Most of the plays that I've been doing in the past 3 or 4 years here at Lyric have been great classics. I did My Fair Lady, I did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, I did The Little Foxes by Lillian Hellman, and Anna Christie by Eugene O'Neill. And it was an opportunity to do something that really captures the zeitgeist, that addresses this particular moment that we're living in and a lot of different issues that we're facing in American culture and also in American theater.
For sure. Talk to me about your rehearsal process, because it's only 4 actors, and what discoveries you found in the room and what comedy came from that.
Oh, that's a really good question. We laughed constantly in rehearsal. It was one of the funniest rehearsal processes I've ever had. Theater people, I think, have a really great sense of humor about ourselves. So we knew these people. Of course, most of us had a high school drama teacher, right? Most of us are aware about, in the play, they're trying to do a devised theater piece, meaning that the actors are also the creators. And so many of us have seen devised theater, some great devised theater, but also some bad devised theater. And so the actors were able to tap into people they knew or experiences that are relevant to them as theater artists, right? And to be able to laugh at themselves a little bit. In the creation of the piece, the characters are invited to do a lot of improvisation around the notion of the first Thanksgiving. And so I just gave them permission to continue to play, not to tap into their first idea, but to try a new idea, to try a different idea, and to try and make me laugh, to try and make our stage manager laugh, to try and make their fellow castmates laugh. And so they kept spinning new ideas, kept coming up with new and funnier ideas all the time, until finally some of them started to settle into place. And some of the great ones, there were some great ones that I got to see in rehearsal that I'm sorry an audience won't get to see. But it was a very creative process, and I think I tried to give them a lot of space to bring their own sense of humor to these characters, their own perspective, and what they think is funny. So I think what is funny about our production of Thanksgiving Play is different from other productions because it's grounded to some degree in my sensibility, but mostly in the four actors and what's funny about them and what they responded to as funny in the material.
And when Boston audiences come to see the show, what do you hope they take out of it and leave with?
Well, I try and not tell an audience what to think, but the cast and I all agreed that theme is the predominant element of this work, that Larissa FastHorse has a message she wants to get out to audiences, and she does it through a stage comedy. This is a great tradition that goes all the way back to Aristophanes. I tend to think a little bit about Shaw. Shaw was a socialist, right? And he wanted to change society in a whole lot of different ways, a whole lot of views on economics and women's gender roles and all sorts of things. But he did it, Shaw, very smartly by creating very entertaining comedies that invited people to laugh. And he embedded points of view in those characters so that we were exposed to different ideas and points of view through characters and by laughing. So Larissa says that the comedy is the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. So what is the medicine? Well, I tend to think of it in terms of questions. And I let the play answer those questions, and I brainstormed that with the cast. What are if this play is the answer, what's the question? And these are some of the questions that the cast and I came up with. How have we excluded Indigenous people from art, from theater, and from our collective stories? How do we become real allies and overcome white privilege? What defines history, the national narrative? How can well-meaning liberals and theater artists truly make a difference? This is a big one. Is it possible to celebrate both Thanksgiving and Native American Heritage Month? Because November is Native American Heritage Month, and there's an inherent contradiction there in celebrating Thanksgiving, which is built on a foundation of myths and lies, with Native American Heritage Month. What voices need to be lifted up? Does that mean that some will be silenced? In our quest for artistic authenticity and inclusivity, are we in danger of losing the empathetic imagination that is essential to making theater? And also, this is something that I think we're all thinking about in 2019, which is in creating new non-white, non-colonial narratives, what are we willing to give up? So are there certain things, for example, that we love about Thanksgiving that we are going to have to address and think about and admit to ourselves? And are there certain stories or myths or feelings that we have to give up? There's some that we already have, for example, right? Like, so we used to celebrate, when I was a kid, Washington's birthday. And we would celebrate the idea that Washington chopped down a cherry tree and told his father, because I cannot tell a lie. And we realized, like, oh, that was just made up by somebody at some point, right? If we want to honor George Washington, President's Day, it's not built around that story. And we need to look at the bigger picture and the contradictions of that man, right? So there are sometimes things that we have to sacrifice in our movement towards a more respectful, more inclusive society and culture.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to think about once you walk out of the theater, which I love. And as you just mentioned, you are no stranger to directing here at the Lyric. I loved The Little Foxes, and we had Michael and Rosa on the show, and that was a great interview. But why do you love directing here at the Lyric so much?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why I love directing here at Lyric. I love the space. I love the intimacy of the space. And I think audiences in the 21st century really crave intimacy in theater going. It's fun to go see the big Broadway shows. I love Broadway shows and Broadway musicals, and I love going to the Opera House or, giant spaces. But I think in the 21st century, because we have access to so much entertainment, streaming, video, on our phones, on our iPad, like on demand when we want it, we have come to crave the live, intimate experience in a different way that we can't get from a blockbuster movie. And I think we've seen that nationwide and certainly here in Boston, and Lyric personifies that, the elevation of the small and mid-sized theaters just provides a unique experience for audiences. So I love that. I love the diversity of programming that they do here. So I love the chance that as a theater artist, sometimes I can do My Fair Lady, or I can do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, or I can do the Thanksgiving play. And I love being part of a community dialogue that Lyric engages in with their subscribers and with their audience through a whole season of plays that offers them a lot of different kinds of experiences, a lot of different kinds of theater. Sometimes it's just about a celebration of joy. Sometimes it's more provocative. And to take that whole journey with them is really exciting. I find Lyric audiences to be intelligent and discerning and willing to take risks. So it's fun to work here for all of those reasons.
And you've directed so much over the years. Is there a musical or play that you have yet to tackle that you I want to direct that next?
Oh, golly. I'm sure there is. I used to keep a really long list of dream shows that I wanted to do, and I came across it recently, Kobi, and I've hit most of them. So I'm really happy about that. One of the big ones on my list was The Little Foxes. I've admired Lillian Hellman for a long time, and I thought, before I die, I want to direct a Lillian Hellman play, and Lyric gave me that opportunity. Everybody wants to try and take on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Lyric gave me that opportunity. I would like to take on some musicals again. I really had a great time here at Lyric, kind of revisiting and reconceiving My Fair Lady. And I'm really interested in that idea, how we can take some of those classic musicals and see them through a new lens, and again, create a more intimate experience than maybe you might have gotten when you saw it on Broadway. Sure. So some musicals are of interest to me. But I'm also really interested in aligning myself with the future, too. So Thanksgiving play is an example of that. What's happening now? What's new? What's now? What's next? What writer don't I know? And to have had the opportunity to direct a play by an Indigenous female playwright is not something on my list or something that I would have imagined for myself, and it's been transformational for me. So there's always that gift. I usually feel that the theater gods are kind of looking out for me, and projects come to me when I have something to learn from them at a particular moment in time. And I think this is an example of that. So I'm kind of surrendering myself to the mystery of what might come next.
That's great. And of course, you just took over as the Dean of Theater at the Boston Conservatory in August. How is that going?
Oh, well, that's part of maybe why I'm thinking about some of these things. We have a really strong musical theater program there, and also we have a BFA in musical theater and a BFA in contemporary theater. So I'm interested in kind of reimagining the musical for the future, and contemporary theater practices are both very prominent in my thinking right now. One of the things that's really exciting for me at Boston Conservatory, sometimes we call it BOCO for short, which merged recently with the Berklee College of Music, is the interplay between contemporary pop music and the American musical, right? So this has been coming for a long period of time, but I feel like there's a new energy around this. The idea of song cycle musicals. So Hadestown, I don't know if you got to see, yeah. Hadestown was really written as a song cycle, right? And then it became a stage event with a narrative and the characters becoming more and more clear. But it's something really a hybrid in between kind of a concert and a traditional Broadway musical. So there's movement in that area. And then, of course, in the past, and I guess really in the 21st century, we've seen this emergence of the thing that people call jukebox musicals, where there are we take pop music and we put it into a musical stage form, whether it's something like Mamma Mia or Motown or Beautiful, right? So there's that dimension of this interplay between pop rock music and contemporary music and the musical form. And I think BOCO at Berkeley really has an opportunity to contribute to the way in which the American musical is going to change in the future. And it's also a really big program. It's exciting. We have about 370 students, and we are in many ways the flagship musical theater is the flagship program of the Conservatory. So most colleges and universities, like most high schools, the little theater department, like you see here in the Thanksgiving play, they're kind of trying to carve out their niche and say, what about the theater program? What about the theater kids, right? And a lot of the energy goes to sports or sometimes what are viewed as more practical or profitable degrees or programs like engineering or computer science or business. And part of the fun for me being at Boston Conservatory at Berkeley is we are the main event. We're not the icing. We're not even the icing on the cake. We're the steak. We're the whole story. It's all about our art form and a respect for the theater and music and dance. And that's really thrilling to experience on a daily basis.
Yeah, since I see almost everything in Boston theater-wise, and I love going to the BOCO shows, and I'm so excited to go see Shrek in a few weeks. My last question that we ask on every interview we have is, do you have any fun on-stage mishap stories that you've witnessed over your time directing where something has just gone terribly wrong? Either sets falling down, anything like that in that wheelhouse.
I have a lifetime of them, of course, but the one that really sticks out in my imagination is a production I directed of The Glass Menagerie many, many, many years ago. Now, I'm a huge Tennessee Williams fan. He's probably my favorite playwright. I directed The Cat in the Tin Roof here at Lyric, and 5 by 10 at Speakeasy, so I just revere him. I have a photograph of him in my office. I have a photograph of him in my bedroom at home, Tennessee Williams. I love that man. I think I know more about him than I know about myself. Several years ago, I directed a production of The Glass Menagerie, and I think my production of The Glass Menagerie stands out in the history of productions of Glass Menagerie in so much as in the final moments, the actress playing Laura caught on fire on stage. Can you believe that? So if you know The Glass Menagerie, the final moments of the play is Laura's leaning over a candelabra, and Tom says in his memory to his sister, the character of Tom, blow out your candles, Laura, and she blows out the candles in the candelabra, and then he says to the audience, and so goodbye. Well, this actress one night leaned over perhaps a little bit too close, perhaps had a little too much hairspray in her hair, and she ignited. And so the actress playing Amanda had to get up and stomp her out. Oh my God. So she was terrified. The actress playing Amanda was terrified. The audience gasped in horror, and there was nothing left to do except for poor Tom, the actor playing Tom, to look out at the audience and say, and so good night, blackout, and that was the end of it. So I think that's probably, she was fine. But I think that was probably the worst mishap that I've ever had to experience, and I think I hope it's the only time that's ever happened in the history of The Glass Menagerie.
I would hope. That's one of the more wilder stories we've heard.
Actor catching fire.
Well, thank you, Scott, so much for chatting with us. Everyone, go see the Thanksgiving play. It is so funny. Playing at the Lyric Stage until November 10th. Get your tickets at lyricstage.com. Thank you so much.